Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and back to part 2 of Project Pickle, the 1976 Land Rover. Well, we've made some progress. We've got some more parts off the car, lots of bits blasted, some bits into epoxy and top coat, and we took delivery of a parcel. So let's get into it. Here Mark and Bobby are removing the bulkhead off the chassis, the last panel to come off. Now we're going to do a compression test. We're hoping that we get sensible results so we don't have to completely rebuild the engine and hopefully only give it a top end decoke. So anything over 120 pounds per square inch is going to be more than acceptable. And here are the results: 145 psi on cylinder 1, 145 on cylinder 2, 145 on cylinder 3 and 125 on cylinder 4. So we're pretty happy with that. Now we're going to give it a thorough engine degrease before we pull it out. So we're giving it a proper coating with Geyser, TFR, that kind of thing, and then we're going to give it a couple of coats of Corosol, which is a fallout remover kind of thing, to remove any loose debris, just so that we've got something clean to start with before we pull the engine and gearbox and suspension out. The purpley black liquid falling onto the tarmac is the Corosol, where it's removing all the iron particles. And now a pretty special moment. The Shielder Chassis and Bulkhead have arrived. So we're now giving it a coat of Mordant solution, which pre-treats the gel so that we can get a coat of epoxy primer on it. So we've tinted the epoxy fairly close to the limestone. We'll give it 3 coats of tinted epoxy. When the epoxy's been left 24 hours, we'll give it 3 coats of the limestone top coat. This is it in epoxy. Just a bit easier on the eye than the kind of harsh aesthetic of hot dip galvanised. And now we're going for the limestone top coat. So we'll end up getting 3 coats of that on there. And here it is finished in top coat. The bottom edge, inner edge strengthening panel of the front panel had rotted away, so we fabricated a new one, and now we're spot welding it back in place using the existing spot welds as the locations for the weld, so we're copying it exactly. Now we're getting the front panel and a whole load of other bits set up for some tinted epoxy. The front panel, the front crossmember cover, and the two front bulkhead vents are all getting some high build primer because they're going to be exterior panels, so they're going to get some proper preparation before we colour those up. And then we're getting some tinted epoxy on the sill strengtheners, the front bulkhead supports, the front inner splash shields. There's two rails full of parts that we're tinting epoxy in. Now for 3 coats of limestone top coat. And now the brake pedal boxes and the clutch pedal boxes and pedals are all being dismantled, and then they'll get completely cleaned up in the geyser tank and then get sandblasted, then epoxy primed, and then painted in gloss black. all the seat frames, the dash panel, and the battery support air cleaner carrier and expansion tank carrier have all been blasted, getting 2 coats of epoxy black and then 2 coats of gloss black top coat. As you can see, the bulkhead's had some fairly ropey repairs in the past. None of it's particularly nice. The top part of the bulkhead at the top of the door is all gone as well, and it's all blown from the inside out, so we opted for a Shielder Chassis new one. We treated it with Mordant solution, but have had a rethink, and because it's going to be largely visible, we've ground down the hot dip galv coating with an 80 grit grinder and sander. We'll then set that up in the booth, give it a coat of tinted epoxy, or rather just normal epoxy, and then several coats of high build primer. Then that'll be prepped up at some point next week and then get recoated in body colour. Are you lot still here? Please like the video if you found it interesting. Please share it if you think somebody else might. I've got to get going, I've got to get some more primer on. Till next time, stay safe. Thanks everyone.